The Heiress of the Night. Shadows in Regency England. Elara, Whitford. Summary. London, 1815. As England celebrates the defeat of Napoleon, the city reveals its seams, an aristocracy glittering in its salons, and an impoverished multitude struggling to survive along the docks of the Thames. Between these two worlds circulates a name feared and revered in equal measure, the guardian of the night. To the law, a ruthless pirate; to the dispossessed, an almost mythical figure who defies an unjust order. The Marquis of Rowanhold belongs to respectable London. Educated, restrained, heir to a rigid moral code, he has sworn to avenge the death of his brother, attributed to the guardian of the night. To hunt him down he must descend into the dockside districts, into taverns where the law does not reach and truth hides behind half-light. There he meets Ophelia, a young woman marked by a dark origin, shrewd and dangerous, who lives on the margins with a laughter that is not entirely innocent. An initial misunderstanding, a wrongly assumed identity, binds them in a way both intimate and perilous. Ophelia sees in him something he is not, Rowan in her something he cannot fully comprehend. Amid pursuits, secrets, and ambiguous loyalties, both will be forced to confront what they defend: order, justice, truth, and the price of bringing them into the light. As London wavers between decay and renewal, the hunter and the woman born in shadow move toward a territory where the line between light and darkness is no longer clear, and where loving can be as risky as betrayal. Because not all darkness is evil, and not all light reveals the truth. Epigraph. All light is born in shadow. The law names it. The margins guard it. Desire reveals it. Prologue. London, 1815. The city celebrated victory, the way one raises a glass to avoid staring into the void. Napoleon had been defeated at Waterloo, and the echo of the cannon still lingered in salons lit by crystal lamps. England had prevailed, yes, but it had done so exhausted, pockets full of glory and streets crowded with men without a destination. While the Prince Regent ruled in the name of a king absent from his own mind, London learned to live with its double nature. By day carriages paraded through Mayfair, by night the Thames returned bodies and secrets. Elegance coexisted with misery without ever touching it, as though they belonged to different cities separated by little more than a bridge. In gentlemen's clubs people spoke of honor, law, and country. On the docks they spoke of hunger. The war was over, but not the violence. Thousands of sailors and soldiers returned to a country that no longer needed them. Some found work, others found refuge in illegality. Smuggling flourished. Dockside gangs grew stronger. And in whispers a name began to circulate, one no one spoke aloud without first looking both ways. The Night Guardian. To some he was a criminal without a flag. To others a myth. An uncomfortable remnant of a world the Crown preferred to forget. Former privateers, abandoned captains, men who had served the Empire now survived on its margins. The Night Guardian was the shadow that reminded London that not all justice wore a uniform. It was that same year that the Marquis of Rowanhold decided to descend into that other London. Educated for order, trained to obey the law and enforce it, he had spent his life upholding an impeccable moral architecture. But victory left a bitter taste. Too many unanswered questions. Too many dark zones the official narrative failed to illuminate. Beneath his composure, something in him had fractured. He was not seeking only a man. He was seeking a fisher. Ophelia belonged to that fisher. She had grown up where the law was a rumor and survival, a form of intelligence. She knew the night not as a threat but as a refuge. For her, darkness was not negation but gestation, the place where the invisible takes shape before daring to exist. She learned early that not everything should be revealed at once, that some truths die if torn out too soon. Between them lay a difference deeper than origin or class. He believed in light as immediate revelation, she, in shadow as preparation. And yet they defended the same thing without knowing it: a legitimate order, a truth worth sustaining, a justice that did not resemble vengeance too closely. The misunderstanding that would bind them was no minor accident, but the inevitable consequence of a city built on masks. Mistaking the hunter for the monster was, in London, a comprehensible error. Perhaps a necessary one. Because in a time when the nation tried to convince itself that everything was over, some men and women were still running, not to flee, but to reach something that remained hidden. And every true hunt, sooner or later, demands that something be brought into the light, even if doing so requires passing through the night. Chapter 1. London 1815. The city split in two. The hunter sank into waiting, honing patience like a weapon. The Marquis of Rowanhold's deception was a calculated risk. There was no other way. If the rumors were true, and on the docks they always were, the pride of the Night Guardian would not allow an impostor to usurp his name. He would come into the open. And then Rowan would close the trap. The legend had to die. He tried to buy silence, gold, favors, promises. He failed. Among seamen there were no traitors. Reverence, they said. Rowan thought of fear. Perhaps they were the same. The Night Guardian was not a man, but a carefully cultivated myth. No one had seen his face. His ship, the Cordelia, lived in contradictory tales, black as an omen, swift as the wrath of God. The rich feared him, the poor blessed him. He robbed the powerful, and left a white rose beside the plundered. That flower alone was enough to freeze the blood. Even the church accepted his gold with trembling hands. Scoundrel, they called him. And they smiled as they did. The War Department showed no such indulgence. It had put a price on his head. Rowan doubled the sum. For him it was not about justice but revenge. An eye for an eye. Curiously, both men shared a dark reputation. Common men feared the Marquis as much as the pirate. Had the Night Guardian not dared to cross a certain line, had he not touched what he should not have, Rowan would have ignored him. But that sin sealed his fate. Every night the Marquis went to the Wayward, a tavern wedged into the outskirts, where the Thames smelled of tar and misery. He always sat with his back to the wall, watching, waiting. He moved among that fauna with an unsettling naturalness. Their titles were worth nothing, only size, strength and indifference to violence mattered. Rowan commanded respect. His powerful build, weathered skin and those grey eyes hard as a storm sky were enough. Once they had inspired size, now they inspired caution. They said hatred had turned him to stone. He agreed. Playing the Night Guardian was not difficult. The rumors insisted that the pirate was, at heart, a fallen nobleman. Rowan exploited that fantasy. On the first night he wore his finest clothes, and pinned a white rose to his lapel. It was provocative. It worked. He had to hurt a couple of men to make space for himself, fighting without honor or restraint. They liked that. When one of them, trembling, asked if what was said was true, Rowan did not answer. He smiled. That was enough. By the end of the week, the rumor that the Night Guardian frequented the Wayward had spread with almost festive enthusiasm. Moore, the Irish innkeeper who had won the place in a rigged game, was the only one who knew the truth. He shared the plan and enjoyed the profits, watered beer sold at luxury prices. That night, already close to 3, he rubbed his freckled brow with visible frustration. "You have more patience than a fly on a mangy dog," he growled, pouring brandy. "Don't lose heart. The Night Guardian won't be long. I'd say tomorrow." Every night he said the same. "He'll fall on him like a duck on an insect," he added, chuckling under his breath. Rowan drank for the first time all evening and leaned his shoulders against the wall. "I will catch him." The coldness of his voice chilled Moore. He was about to nod when the door opened. The figure on the threshold left him speechless. "Holy Mother of God," he murmured. "Is it an angel?" Rowan saw her clearly.
He did not move. He did not breathe.
He feared that if he blinked, the vision would vanish.
She was breathtakingly beautiful. Her eyes, a deep green, ensnared him.
Like my valley on a full moon night, he thought, without knowing why. The young woman stepped forward.
The hood fell back and the candlelight set a cascade of curls aflame, chestnut red, alive as fire.
Rowan felt a stab in his chest. And he knew, with an unsettling certainty, that this woman had not entered his life by chance.
Chapter 2.
Between salons and tides. The young woman stopped at the table. Only then did Rowan notice the details. The cloak, well made, was torn along one side, the satin lining hung in tatters. In the flickering candlelight her face bore fresh marks, a bruise on her cheekbone, a cut beneath her lip, a dark stain on her forehead. If this is an angel, he thought, it has been forced to pass through purgatory. She was beautiful, dangerously so for his peace of mind. Rowan tensed his shoulders and waited. The young woman lowered her gaze to the white rose pinned to his lapel.
Her hands trembled.
She pressed a small pale purse to her chest. Old scars were visible on her fingers, the marks of a life that had not been kind. Rowan felt an unexpected discomfort. He did not want her to be afraid of him. The realization irritated him with himself.
"Are you alone?" he asked with forced lightness. "Yes." "Here? At this hour?" "Yes."
She lifted her chin just a little.
"Are you the night guardian? Look at me when you ask me something." She could not. Her eyes remained fixed on the rose. "Sir," she said softly. "Are you the night guardian? I need to speak with him."
Rowan held the silence for a moment.
"I am the night guardian."
The young woman nodded, as if that answer confirmed something she already knew.
"They say you accept any job, if the payment is sufficient." "That's so. What do you want?" She set the purse on the table.
The cord loosened, and several coins rolled between them. More whistled from the bar.
30 pieces, the young woman murmured. "It's all I have."
Rowan raised an eyebrow.
30 pieces of silver. Isn't it enough? "It depends," he replied. "Who do you want to betray?" She shuddered. "No. I don't want to betray anyone." There was pride in her refusal, and an open wound. "Then this has been a mistake," Rowan said.
The young woman's brow furrowed, but she kept silent.
"So," he went on, "speak plainly. What do you want from me?" "I want you to kill someone."
The words fell softly, almost shyly.
"Ah."
Rowan let the sound stretch.
"Your husband?"
His cynicism did not touch her.
"No." "Then you're not married." "Does that matter?" "Very much." "I'm not." "Your father."
"A brother."
She shook her head slowly.
Rowan leaned forward.
"I'm beginning to tire of this."
"Speak."
He expected fear. He found defiance.
A brief fear spark.
That frightened girl had claws. "I want you to accept before I explain." "You call murder a job?" he asked, incredulous. "Yes."
She was not looking at him, and that irritated him more than he was willing to admit.
"Very well," he lied. "I accept."
The young woman's shoulders relaxed, as if she had just released an unbearable weight.
"Now tell me who the victim is." At last she looked up.
Rowan caught his breath. In those green eyes there was storm, weariness, and a determination that tightened his chest. For an absurd instant he wanted to draw her close, protect her, erase every visible and invisible wound. He grew angry with himself.
"She wants to hire me to kill," he reminded himself. "Well," he pressed. "Who do you want me to kill?"
The young woman drew a breath.
"Me." Chapter 3.
Shadows in the Regency.
Holy Mother of God.
Moore murmured.
Madam, are you serious? More than ever, she replied without taking her eyes off Rowan. Otherwise I wouldn't be here. Not now. Not in this place. You've lost your mind, Rowan said. I wish, she shot back. It would be easier.
Rowan clenched his jaw.
When do you want this to happen? Now. Now. If it suits you, my lord. If it suits me. Oh.
I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. Why do you think you did? Because you're shouting at me. She was right.
Rowan exhaled slowly. It had been a long time since he'd lost control, but this creature, with freckles on her nose and poorly healed wounds, was speaking of her own death as if she were ordering bread.
I'm sorry to have upset you, she said gently. Have you never killed a woman? No, he replied through clenched teeth. But everything has a beginning. That's what I thought, she nodded, almost relieved. I would help, of course.
Rowan closed his eyes for a second.
You would help? Of course. You're desperate. Yes. And I don't have time. They'll come looking for me, maybe tonight.
I'll die by their hands or by yours. I prefer to choose.
Then why don't you do it yourself? Moore burst out. Moore.
Rowan growled.
I couldn't, she replied. It would be a sin. It has to be done by someone else.
Rowan stood.
The chair creaked.
I understand nothing, he said, bracing his hands on the table, but I will before the night is over.
Let's start with the basics.
Your name.
What for? I don't kill strangers. That's an absurd rule. Answer me.
Ophelia.
I want the real one. That is my real name. He studied her for a moment. You're serious? Always. It's uncommon, he admitted. Like you. Your opinion doesn't matter, she replied.
Do you always interrogate your victims?
Do you have family? No. Why? They died.
Rowan closed his eyes, counted to 10.
Are you alone? No. I have a brother. Where is he? Working. Doing what?
She brushed away the hand he had lifted to her chin.
On ships. When does he return?
The green gaze challenged him.
In 2 weeks. I've answered enough. She made an impatient gesture. Are you going to fulfill your contract, or will you keep bothering me?
Moore cut in, nervous.
Maybe you shouldn't call him the Night Guardian. Then what? She asked. Rowan, Moore replied.
Ophelia snorted.
Well. And you say my name is strange?
Rowan caught her again, forcing her to look at him.
What is your brother's name? Silas. And if I never see him again? You won't. A heavy silence fell. Very well, Rowan said at last. Then let's talk about how you want to die. Chapter 4.
Hunting the truth comes at a price.
Where do you live, Ophelia? Sir, your endless questions are giving me a headache. And I'm not used to being shouted at.
Rowan shot Moore a look heavy with exasperation.
She wants me to kill her, he growled, but she complains about my tone.
Suddenly Ophelia leaned across the table and seized his chin, forcing him to look at her. The audacity surprised him so much that he did not react.
Now I ask the questions, she said. I'm the one paying. I want to know if you're truly willing to kill me.
Your hesitation unsettles me.
First I have to understand what the hell is going on. No. Then there's no deal. You're a villain, she burst out. You gave me your word. I lied.
Indignation left her breathless.
An honorable man wouldn't do that. I never said I was honorable. He didn't, Moore confirmed.
Ophelia set her hands over Rowan's and leaned toward him.
They told me the night guardian never breaks a promise. They lied to you.
They were dangerously close. Rowan tried to focus, but her clean scent disarmed him. That girl did not retreat, she challenged him. And that, inexplicably, drew a brief laugh from him.
They ought to hang you, Ophelia said. You don't look like a coward, but you cheat like one. She tried to pull away.
Rowan's hands closed over hers.
I'm a pirate, madam, he murmured. We aren't required to be brave. She broke into tears.
Rowan froze. Moore sprang to his feet.
Come now, miss. It's your fault, she sobbed. I only asked for a favor.
A small one. Quick.
I even let you finish your drink.
Moore looked at Rowan with open reproach.
You nearly broke her heart.
Taking coins to kill her isn't honest work, Rowan tried to reason.
It is, she replied, if the lady desires it.
Moore rubbed his forehead.
On that, she may be right.
Rowan closed his eyes. Ophelia gathered the coins and stood.
I'm leaving.
I'll find someone more willing. Before the night is over, I'll find someone who wants to kill me. Rowan caught her at the door and turned her to face him.
At his touch, she began to cry again.
Exasperated and alarmed at once, he drew her against his chest. She clung to him, apologizing between sobs. Damn it, he thought.
She was soft.
Too soft.
And he didn't want to let her go.
Ophelia, he said at last, his voice low.
Tomorrow you'll be grateful I didn't accept. Tomorrow I'll be dead. No, he replied. I won't let anything happen to you. I'm not strong enough, she whispered. They're cruel men. I don't want to die without dignity. You speak like a soldier. I don't want to be remembered as a coward. When your brother returns, will he be able to protect you? Yes.
Silas always does.
Then I'll watch over you until he comes back.
She pulled away at once, irritated.
You already broke one promise. This is different. Do you mean it? Yes.
2 weeks. Ophelia shook her head.
You're a pirate. There's a price on your head. I don't want to be responsible for your death. You don't trust me much. Not at all, she specified. Maybe you don't even leave white roses.
Maybe you're not so fearsome. Rowan clenched his teeth.
Don't hide your disappointment so poorly. I am, she exclaimed. You're not honorable.
You don't even seem capable of facing my enemies. You're big, too visible.
You'd be an easy target. She turned her back on him and started away.
Rowan stood motionless for a second. Only one. Then he caught up with her on the threshold, before she could cross the door.
Chapter 5.
No one survives the truth without changing. Rowan's arm closed around Ophelia's shoulders and held her against his side, with a firmness that was surprisingly careful.
Then he turned to Moore. Don't tell anyone about tonight.
Give me your word.
And why should I give it, if you break yours so easily?
Ophelia shot back.
A gentleman doesn't ask for what he isn't willing to offer. Didn't they teach you manners?
Rowan looked at her and brushed her cheek with his fingers.
That's the misunderstanding. I'm not a gentleman.
I'm a pirate.
The touch left her motionless.
When he withdrew his hand, Ophelia reacted as if waking and threw herself against his chest.
Then there is a difference, she murmured.
Tell me, Rowan, if I manage to irritate you again, will you kill me out of pure exasperation?
It's starting to sound tempting. Let go of me. Don't touch me again. And how am I supposed to kill you then?
Ophelia didn't catch the joke.
With a pistol? She looked at him distrustfully. You have one, don't you? I do. And where? A clean shot to the heart. I wouldn't want to linger. That would be unforgivable. Do you find this amusing? We're talking about my death. No.
It irritates me.
Tell me, do I have to attack you first? No. What a pity. Were your parents cousins? She burst out. You're a fool.
Either an idiot or the coldest man I've ever known. The green of her eyes burned like glass in the sun. Rowan held her gaze.
I'm not convinced you're in real danger. I dislike that, she said, tense. And your opinions? Save the bravado. And stop talking about killing yourself.
If you look at me like that again, I'll kiss you until those ideas pass.
Kiss me?
Why?
I have no idea. Would you kiss someone you dislike? I think I would. You're arrogant. You're spitting sweetness.
Ophelia was left without a retort. Rowan took advantage to turn back to more.
Your word. You have it, the innkeeper nodded. Though Langford will know before dawn. I know. He'll be discreet.
No one else.
Not even Rourke. Rowan, Ophelia cut in, you don't happen to have a pistol. He doesn't have one and he won't, he cut her off. What don't I have?
Moore asked.
A pistol. And he won't kill her.
Moore nodded, confused.
Will your carriage come for you?
Rowan asked.
I took a hired one.
Ophelia freed herself and picked up the large grey bag.
Everything I own is here. I came from the country. You left it in the street. I hoped it would be stolen. I thought I wouldn't need it anymore when you... Enough.
Rowan growled.
She was slow to obey. He tugged at her hair, and Ophelia cried out. Then he saw the swelling by her ear. What is that? Don't touch me. It hurts. How did it happen? I fell down the stairs. I hit my head on the banister. You could have killed yourself. It wasn't like me, she said. I usually behave like a lady. And then?
Moore asked.
I went for a walk, and they followed me. They?
Rowan pressed.
The men I saw murder a gentleman.
Moore shook his head.
You didn't say that before. I was going to.
You distracted me, Ophelia accused Rowan.
It's your fault.
Before or after the blow, he asked.
Before, after. I don't know. My head is throbbing.
Rowan watched her closely.
You were wearing the cloak. It tore when you fell.
You bruised your face.
And? A concussion, Ophelia.
You're confused.
I'm not. You are. Stop shouting, he said more gently. We'll wait until you're better. He's right, Moore agreed. If there'd been a murder like that, the whole city would be talking about it. If you think I'm imagining the danger, Ophelia replied, you don't need to protect me. On the contrary, Rowan said. Now I know whom to protect you from. He took the bag. You're a risk. I can't leave you alone. Let's say I'm protecting you from yourself.
Come.
She tried to snatch it back. They tugged, he won. What do you have in here? It weighs more than you. Everything I own.
Rowan shook his head and took her hand. My carriage is 2 streets away.
You should be in bed.
And you will be.
Chapter 6.
Every hunt eventually reveals us. Ophelia came to an abrupt stop.
In whose bed, Rowan?
His sigh was so loud it seemed to wake the drunks in the alleyways. In yours. Kurt.
Your reputation isn't in danger.
I'm not interested in naive women.
And least of all you. It was an incomplete truth. He did want her. At least enough to want to kiss her, and buy a few minutes of silence. Is that one of your rules?
Ophelia asked.
Not sleeping with virgins.
Her dignity was wounded. Rowan hesitated for a fraction of a second.
I also avoid foolish or especially irritating women.
So with me you're safe.
He smiled.
Ophelia looked at him, as if she had just decided on his execution.
I'm starting to hate you. Perfect. Not perfect, she shot back, clinging to the last word. The Night Guardian, if you don't stop dragging me along, I'll shout your name until the authorities come. I'm not the Night Guardian. What? She stumbled.
Rowan held her.
I said I'm not the Night Guardian.
I already told you that in the tavern.
Then who the hell is he? They had reached the carriage.
Ophelia refused to climb in until she had an answer, and pushed his hands away again and again. Rowan relented, tossed the bag to the driver and turned back to her.
Rowan.
Marquis of Rowanhold.
And now get in. This isn't the place for long explanations. Do you promise? I promise, he growled. She didn't believe him.
She crossed her arms.
How embarrassing. Pretending to be a noble pirate.
Ophelia, he cut in, that scoundrel is many things, but he isn't noble.
And how do you know what's truth and what's fantasy?
Do you know him then? Or is your life so dreary that you need to pretend? Rowan's expression hardened. The flower on his lapel flew to the ground. Without the slightest delicacy, he picked her up and put her into the carriage. When the vehicle started moving, darkness enveloped them. Ophelia was grateful not to see his frown, Rowan not to notice her faint smile.
They fell silent. Each gathered their composure. Why are you pretending to be the Night Guardian? She pressed. To catch him. Why? Later. The tone was meant to be final. It wasn't. You're angry because I forced you to abandon the pursuit, aren't you? I didn't abandon it, he replied, weary. When I resolve your problem, I'll resume the hunt.
I won't fail. Ophelia didn't answer.
She wasn't worried.
She hadn't failed, she had gone to the tavern to find the Night Guardian.
And there she had found something like the Night Guardian.
The mission was accomplished. Her brother would be satisfied.
Chapter 7.
Between margin and desire.
The tears turned out to be an unexpected discovery.
For Ophelia, and for Rowan. She had not planned to cry in order to get him out of the tavern, but when she noticed how disarmed he became at the sight of a defeated woman, she let the tears grow.
And it worked.
Rowan was momentarily defenseless, as if he no longer knew where to place his hands or his gaze. Ophelia herself had not known she possessed that talent. Crying at will required a certain concentration, but once the impulse was mastered, she could summon tears with admirable speed.
If she set her mind to it, she could break into sobs before a gentleman had time to remove his hat. She felt no shame at all.
Desperate times called for desperate measures, Black Hale always said so. Her adoptive uncle would have laughed out loud. In all the years beside him, he had never seen her cry, not even when McCrae flogged her until her back burned. Ophelia did not whimper then. Hale had leapt over the rail to stop the beating, and McCrae, the better swimmer, was last seen heading toward France. Hale would be furious if he knew what she was doing now.
But there was no time for explanations.
Rowan's life was at stake. Ophelia knew too much about the Marquis of Rowanhold.
She had studied him.
The entire file memorized on the first reading. The War Department did not hand out reports easily, but no lock resisted her.
On the third attempt, the dossier was hers. It did not mention that Rowan was dangerously handsome.
Words like ruthless, relentless, efficient appeared in abundance. Never seductive. Nor did it say anything about his shoulders, or the way he occupied space. His operational name unsettled her, the Hound.
And when she finished reading, she understood why.
Rowan never let go. He stalked with ancient patience and sooner or later he prevailed. Rowan had left the service on the day his brother Edmund died. The report recorded it with almost bureaucratic coldness, resignation accepted with full paternal support. The Duke of Ashcombe had already given one son to the country, and was not prepared to lose the other. Only after the tragedy did the truth emerge. Rowan had never known that Edmund, the younger one, also worked for the government. Ophelia read that part of the file with particular care. She had met Edmund at sea, long before knowing who he truly was. She had pulled him from the water on a pitch-black night, and he, wounded and half-conscious, asked her to save his brother first.
That was when Ophelia came to love him.
Not as one loves a lover, but as one loves brave men who ask nothing for themselves.
That was why she was prepared to like Rowan. What she had not anticipated was that sudden, dangerous physical attraction that threatened to cloud her judgment.
To protect herself, she decided to become everything he could possibly detest: tearful, capricious, undisciplined. Men usually despised that kind of woman.
She hoped he would be no exception.
Rowan was protective by nature. Ophelia did not ask herself whether that was a virtue or a flaw.
It was enough to know she could use it. She had to make him believe he was saving her.
Only then would she manage to keep him alive. The silence inside the carriage began to feel dangerous.
"Rowan." "Silence," he ordered. "Did you hear that?" "A creak," she added quickly. Turner stopped the carriage. The wheel burst as it halted.
Rowan caught her just in time.
"How inconvenient," he murmured.
"Or a trap," Ophelia whispered. Rowan did not answer.
"Stay inside." She did not obey.
The driver examined the axle.
"It was tampered with, my lord. Look at the cuts." "And now?"
Ophelia asked.
"On horseback." "And Turner?" "I have enough brandy," the driver replied. "Bromley will come." "An animal?" Ophelia asked, bewildered. Rowan smiled. "A man. I'll explain later." Ophelia tightened her grip on Rowan's hand. "I think it was the same men who—" "Calm down," he murmured. "Everything will be fine." "How do you know?" "Instinct." "Very late for that." The shot rang out as she threw herself against him. The bullet whistled past his head. Ophelia had just saved his life. Rowan shoved her into a run, shielding her with his back. More shots. Footsteps. Ophelia lost all sense of direction. When she faltered, he lifted her without slowing. He stopped only at the old Thames bridge. "That was close," he said, unshaken. "My instinct failed me tonight." "You don't look tired," she observed. "And you didn't miss the way once." "I suppose I know the city." "Put me down." "No. I don't like being touched." "Don't argue now." "Then apologize," she demanded. "For saying I imagine things. And for being rude." Rowan looked at her, still holding her in his arms. "Ophelia, you ask the strangest questions." She held his gaze steady, defiant. And for the first time the hound hesitated. Chapter 8. Where love and shadow recognize each other. Rowan did not apologize. He merely smiled, and the dimple in his left cheek appeared like a charming betrayal. Ophelia's heart noticed at once, and began to pound furiously again. "We're on a bridge in the darkest part of London, with a gang of throat-cutters on our heels," he said, "and the only thing that occurs to you is to demand an apology." "Darling, you're mad." "I always apologize when I do something wrong," she replied, very dignified. Rowan watched her with irritation. Ophelia met his gaze and smiled without shame. "What a handsome devil," she thought. The moon softened his brow, and for the first time she did not mind that he frowned. In fact, she wanted him to smile again. "Ophelia, can you swim?" She was too focused on Rowan's mouth, on his perfect teeth, to react at once. "Can you swim?" he insisted. Yes, she answered, yawning. Why? There was no reply.
Rowan slung her over his shoulder and began to climb the railing. Ophelia's hair brushed his boots.
What are you doing? Put me down right now. They've cut us off. Take a breath. I'll jump in after you. She had no time to protest.
Her cry of indignation was lost in the night when Rowan hurled her into the void. The wind knocked the breath from her lungs. Then came the icy odour of the Thames. Ophelia shut her mouth just in time and surfaced, spitting black water.
She swore she would not die there in that filth.
She would live long enough to throw her next protector into the river, before he threw her in. Something brushed her leg. Terrified, Ophelia thought of sharks. Then Rowan appeared beside her. He wrapped an arm around her waist, and let the current carry them together beneath the bridge.
Keep still.
She looped her arms around his neck.
Rowan, the sharks. There are no sharks, he said calmly. Nothing decent could survive in these waters. Are you sure? Completely. Hold on a little longer. The calmness of his voice soothed her.
She loosened her grip, though not entirely. They floated a long way, until he pulled her from the water and set her on the bank. Ophelia was shaking too hard to insult him, as he deserved.
I smell like dead fish, she murmured. That's true, he admitted. You do too. Imposter.
Rowan took off his soaked jacket.
Imposter. You pretended to be the night guardian, she said. He would never throw a lady into the Thames. I did what was necessary. I lost my cloak. I'll buy you another. I had my coins in it. And go and fetch it.
Rowan looked at her, as if she had lost her mind.
No. Now I'm poor, she added, her eyes bright. Don't start, he warned. Do you still have your shoes? I can't feel my feet. Damn it, look. I have them.
Will you apologize now?
No.
And lower your voice.
She stepped closer. What would you have done if I couldn't swim? The same. But we would have jumped together. I didn't jump. I'm cold, she added, defeated. What will we do?
Rowan took her hand.
We'll walk to a friend's house. It's close.
Ophelia ran to retrieve the jacket, wrung it out and came back.
I look dreadful, don't I? You smell worse. Thank you. You look like rotten meat.
He covered her mouth when Ophelia gagged.
Don't even think about vomiting. I didn't have dinner, she protested. I wanted to die on an empty stomach. You still might manage it, he murmured. Why? I didn't want to present myself before the Creator stained. I never ask the right questions.
They reached an imposing red brick house. Langford opened the door, sleepy and ill-tempered, until he saw Rowan.
Damn it.
Come in.
He stopped when he caught the smell.
Lydia appeared coming down the stairs, beautiful and radiant. Ophelia felt even worse. Ophelia, Langford, Lydia, Rowan introduced.
What happened to you?
Langford asked.
He threw me into the Thames, Ophelia said.
Lydia's eyes widened.
He didn't apologize, Ophelia added, and burst into tears. He's a scoundrel. He is sometimes, Lydia conceded. Come, I'll give you a hot bath. As she led her away, Lydia shot Rowan a furious look. Very ungallant, she murmured. I even offered her silver coins, Ophelia sobbed. Now I'm poor. What favor did she ask of you?
Langford asked when they were alone. Rowan calmly pulled off his boots.
She wanted me to kill her.
Langford laughed until he understood.
She wanted it to be quick. How thoughtful. They shared a crooked smile. Chapter 9.
A pact sealed in darkness. While Lydia led Ophelia to an inner room to help her out of her soaked clothes and lend her dry garments, Langford guided Rowan into the vestibule. There, without ceremony, Rowan began to pull off his boots and wet jacket, leaving a trail of dark water across the tiles. The contrast was almost domestic. In one wing of the house, steam, blankets and discreet female complicity; in the other, cold, damp leather, and two men pretending at normalcy while the disaster still seeped into their bones. "By now your wife must think I'm an ogre for denying the girl that favor," Rowan said. Langford let out a laugh.
"Lydia doesn't know what the favor was."
Rowan dropped his boots in the middle of the vestibule, and tossed his stockings on top.
"I could still change my mind," he growled. "Damn it, they were my favorite boots."
Leaning against the hallway arch, Langford watched him remove his shirt.
"You couldn't kill her," he said calmly. "She doesn't seem capable of asking for something like that." "She witnessed a murder," Rowan cut in. "And now there are men chasing her to silence her. That's all I know.
Once I sort out her situation, I'll be rid of her." Langford smiled, masking it.
"She unsettled you?" "Not at all." "You're undressing in my vestibule."
Rowan muttered a curse and pulled his trousers back on.
"I need brandy."
Lydia crossed the vestibule toward the stairs, oblivious, or pretending to be, to Rowan's near nakedness.
"The library," Langford suggested. "I'll take care of your bath." The hot water brought Ophelia back to life.
Lydia left her alone after helping wash her hair with perfumed water. Ophelia shed her soaked clothes and, before stepping into the tub, took out a dagger hidden in her petticoats. She placed it on a chair within reach and sank in with a sigh of relief. When she got out of the water, Lydia returned. She saw the scar at the base of Ophelia's back, and exclaimed in surprise. Ophelia wrapped herself in a blanket and faced her.
"What's wrong?"
Lydia shook her head and noticed the dagger.
"Mine's sharper." "How?" "I use a special stone. If you want, I'll sharpen it tomorrow."
Ophelia nodded, puzzled.
"Do you sleep with it under your pillow?"
Lydia asked casually.
"Yes. I used to too."
"Not anymore.
Langford protects me."
She handed her a white nightgown and a robe.
"One day you'll stop doing it too." "I don't trust anyone," Ophelia replied too quickly.
Lydia looked at her curiously.
"You'll have to learn to trust Rowan." "That's impossible." "Do you want to be my friend?"
Ophelia hesitated.
"As long as you want to."
Lydia smiled.
"You think I'll change my mind once I get to know you better?"
Ophelia said nothing.
"You have a mark of honor," Lydia added softly. "Rowan will see it when he takes you to his bed."
Ophelia almost jumped up.
"I don't like that," she said firmly. "And he won't take me to his bed." "We're friends," Lydia answered. "Don't lie to me, you like it."
Ophelia sighed, defeated.
"He's handsome."
"And exasperating." "And dangerous," Lydia smiled.
"Like all destinies."
In the library, Rowan waited for her, leaning against the desk. He had bathed and was wearing Langford's clothes. Ophelia wished he weren't so attractive.
She sat in the middle of the sofa.
Lydia handed her a glass of brandy.
"Drink."
Ophelia obeyed. The warmth made her drowsy.
"Don't fall asleep," Rowan ordered. "I have questions." "I'll just close my eyes," she murmured. "That way I won't see your frown. Tell me, why did you pretend to be the night guardian?" The silence was immediate. "Pretend to be who?"
Rowan growled.
"The night guardian," Ophelia repeated. "I don't know what other characters you play, but your friend should be worried."
Lydia bit her lip to keep from laughing. Langford didn't hide it either.
"This is not a normal situation," Rowan said, tense. "I never thought you'd pretend to be Napoleon," Ophelia added. "You're too tall." "Enough." As if that's my fault.
Rowan took a deep breath.
I'm not blaming you. Yes, you are. You're a jackal. Why don't you start at the beginning?
Langford suggested.
No, Ophelia said. First I want sympathy. You're already shouting. She changed tactics. First those men ruined my brother's house. Then they burned his carriage. Was that the worst? I was inside.
Rowan stared at her.
Do you expect me to believe that?
Ophelia stood up, furious.
It didn't burn on its own. They brought torches to it.
The room fell silent.
And for the first time Rowan didn't smile.
She immediately seemed to remind herself. She turned to those present, lowered her head, gripped the collar of the robe.
Forgive my outburst. I'm not usually like this. She sat back down and closed her eyes. I don't care what you believe.
Tonight I can't talk about it.
If you want to interrogate me, you'll have to wait until tomorrow.
Rowan understood he wouldn't get anything more. This woman knew how to shelter herself in exhaustion like it was a stage. He sat beside her and almost without thinking draped an arm over her shoulders to hold her.
I warned you I don't like being touched, Ophelia murmured, struggling without real conviction.
Lydia smiled, sharing the moment.
It's fate, she whispered. Better let them rest.
She indicated the bedrooms and dragged Langford upstairs, not without announcing.
Sybil will come to wake us at dawn. Sybil?
Ophelia asked.
Our son, Langford replied proudly. Almost 6 months. Chapter 10.
Born on the margins. The door closed behind them, and the murmur of the world stayed outside.
They didn't move.
They stayed in the living room near the fireplace, where the fire crackled with a steady warmth that seemed to protect them from the cold and the night. Silence wrapped around them then, dense and warm, filled with everything neither dared to name yet. Ophelia tried to pull away instinctively, but Rowan stopped her with a firm, careful hand, as if he feared hurting her even by touching her.
I didn't mean to ridicule you, he said softly. Tonight has been disorienting. I'm not used to a lady asking me so calmly to kill her. She lifted her face. Her eyes shone not with fear, but something more fragile. Was I sweet? She asked, almost amused.
Rowan nodded.
And before reason could intervene, he leaned in and kissed her.
It was barely a brush, brief, restrained, like a confession that regrets existing the moment it's born. He pulled away immediately, leaving the air between them charged with promises.
Why did you do that?
Ophelia whispered, still motionless. Because I wanted to, he answered, without excuses. He drew her against his shoulder, wrapping her with his body as if that could protect her, or protect himself. Ophelia rested her cheek against his chest, and listened to the steady heartbeat holding her.
We'll talk tomorrow, Rowan said more calmly. We'll find a solution.
Together. Ophelia closed her eyes and let out a slow, relieved sigh.
Then tell me one thing.
Why did you pretend to be the night guardian?
To flush him out of hiding. To rile his pride. You wanted to meet him. I want to kill him.
Ophelia tensed.
Do you kill for a living? No.
Only when necessary.
I've never killed anyone.
Rowan smiled with unexpected tenderness.
I never thought you had.
She hesitated, staring at the fire.
The Night Guardian isn't the monster you think he is. He helps the poor.
Many say he's never harmed anyone. Rowan's expression hardened.
He's a thief. He steals from those who won't notice the loss, she replied. Some call him romantic. Romantic. Some believe he deserves a title, not a noose. If you really think he never killed, Rowan said quietly, why did you want him to kill you?
Ophelia swallowed.
I thought maybe he'd take me with him. To his ship.
Safe, until my brother returned. Rowan shook his head slowly.
If he had, you'd have had to entrust yourself to God. And you're wrong. She looked up. Who did he kill?
Rowan stared at the fire for a long moment, before answering. When he spoke, his voice was cold.
The Night Guardian killed my brother Edmund.
Ophelia lowered her voice.
I'm sorry, Rowan. You must miss him.
Was Edmund younger than you?
Yes. Long ago. A few months. She didn't press immediately.
She took his hand almost without noticing, as if that gesture was the only possible response.
It must have been devastating for your family. For my father, Rowan said. He gave up everything.
He explained without emphasis who that man had been: influential, difficult protector of the poor. A man who had stopped reading, talking, living.
When the Night Guardian pays, he added, maybe my father will wake up. Or maybe not.
Ophelia looked at him with calm understanding. Parents shouldn't outlive their children.
No, he admitted. They shouldn't.
She hesitated before asking.
Are you sure it was the Night Guardian? I know. How?
Rowan ended the conversation with a sharp gesture.
He died at sea.
Ophelia apologized sincerely and changed the subject.
They couldn't stay there much longer. He agreed.
One night would be enough. The fire burned low when Ophelia fell asleep against his shoulder. Rowan didn't move. He kissed her forehead unconsciously and then again. Only when the cold crept into the room did he wake her and lead her upstairs. Before closing the door, she murmured,
You won't abandon me, will you? Yes.
The answer was immediate.
Sleep wouldn't come to Rowan.
He thought of Ophelia with an intensity that irritated him.
She wasn't his type.
Too wild, too unpredictable. And yet, a sneeze on the other side of the wall gave him an excuse. He entered her room with the nightgown in hand and stopped cold. Ophelia was sleeping on her stomach, her red hair spilled over the pillow like a fire at rest. The thin, almost transparent shirt had slipped up her back, leaving bare skin exposed to the soft glow of the fire. Desire hit him violently, and broke instantly. A scar crossed her back, long, irregular. A whip mark. Rowan knew what it meant. He also knew it had been made since she was a child. Rage rose in his throat. Ophelia stirred in her sleep. She whimpered. He grabbed the nightgown, determined to cover her, when steel flashed. The knife flew across the room and slammed against the fireplace.
Don't come near me like that again, she shouted. You could have killed me. Don't threaten me with a weapon, he growled. They faced each other, breathing hard.
Ophelia didn't seem to notice how transparent his shirt was. Rowan did.
And that made him even angrier. You won't kill me, she said defiantly. You're my protector. The word disarmed him.
He held her still roughly, more out of fear than control.
There are rules you need to understand. She swallowed hard.
This time the fear was real.
Is that how you plan to protect me? No. He slowly stepped back. The silence was thick.
Ophelia looked at him hesitantly, and said the unthinkable.
I think you want to kiss me. Yes. Just once.
Rowan smiled, incredulous.
You want me to kiss you? Yes.
The kiss was deep, possessive, unexpectedly tender.
It didn't last long.
Long enough to change everything. When they pulled apart, they both knew nothing would ever be simple again. And that the promise of protection had just gained a much higher price.
Chapter 11. Between law and desire.
The kiss lasted longer than it should have.
Not because of its intensity, but because of how it left them both defenseless.
Rowan was the first to stop. He held her at the smallest distance, just enough to look into her eyes and remember who she was, and who he shouldn't be at that moment.
Enough, Ophelia. She didn't pull away right away. Didn't you like it?
The honesty in her question disarmed him.
Too much, he admitted. And that's why I have to stop.
Ophelia fell silent. The passion was starting to fade, leaving a trace of clarity. If I keep going, he added, softer, I won't be able to promise you anything worthy of respect. And you deserve to decide without dizziness. Then, with deliberate clumsiness, he helped her adjust her nightgown properly. The gesture, almost domestic, carried more weight than the kiss.
You'll sleep with me, he said, taking her hand. Not to touch you. To keep you safe. That's a dangerous contradiction, she replied, with weary irony. Trust me. She did. The shared bed was a silent pact. They didn't touch. It wasn't easy. It's strange, Ophelia murmured in the dark.
Being like this, without crossing the line.
Strange, he agreed. And necessary. After a pause. Rowan, does making love hurt? Only when you want it and can't. Then it probably doesn't hurt me much, she replied, with innocent logic. He closed his eyes. Sleep, Ophelia. The question came later, just as night was about to break into dawn. That mark on your back, was it a whiplash?
Ophelia turned slowly.
It's personal. I have one just like it. The silence grew heavy.
Finally she spoke.
Tomorrow. All right.
He wrapped an arm around her, firm and protective, without demanding anything. Ophelia stayed still, accepting that refuge. Later she woke up screaming. Rowan held her until her breathing calmed.
You're safe, he told her. With me. I dreamed of sharks, she whispered. She said no more. It wasn't necessary.
When he fell back asleep, Ophelia carefully moved away. The memory was still there, intact and sharp. The water. The fear. The impossibility of escape. She trusted Rowan without reservations.
That was the most dangerous thing.
Because the men a woman can trust
are also the only ones capable of breaking her heart.
Chapter 12. That which still could not be named. Rowan woke with an uncomfortable certainty. He desired Ophelia more than was wise. She slept against him, trusting, with that surrender only granted by someone who doesn't feel watched. Pulling away was an act of discipline. He watched her for a moment longer, too long, and forced himself to remember why he needed to keep his distance. He woke her gently.
It's time.
Ophelia opened her eyes startled, covered herself instinctively, then frowned when she recognized him.
Excuse me. I'm not used to being woken by a man. I hope not, he replied with soft irony.
Before she could answer, Rowan leaned in and stole a brief, firm kiss, without any concessions.
Why did you do that? She asked, still stunned. Because I wanted to.
He pulled away before she had time to recover.
The dining room was flooded with light.
Rowan pulled out her chair with a courtesy that unsettled Ophelia more than the kiss. They ate breakfast in silence until she pointed to the newspaper.
Are they talking about the man I saw die? No. Then they haven't found him yet, she said, uneasy. Rowan, they threw him off a rooftop. He set down his cup. Tell me everything in order. I was entering the church, my brother's parish.
3 men dragged him across the rectory roof.
He struggled. He screamed. Then they threw him. Where is that parish? 3 hours north.
Rowan nodded thoughtfully.
It fit together too well.
Lydia entered at that moment. Ophelia hurried to speak, awkward and nervous.
Nothing happened last night. I threatened him with a knife. It was a misunderstanding. The silence was uncomfortable. I went to get the knife, Lydia said calmly. Did you really try to hurt him? At first, Ophelia admitted. I thought he was a thief.
Langford chuckled quietly. Rowan did not.
Enough, he said. It's not relevant. But it was.
Because Ophelia wasn't lying. Because she had seen something she shouldn't have.
And because the more she tried to stay out of it, the clearer it became that protecting her was no longer a duty, but a dangerous choice. Chapter 13.
Learning to wait. Langford was about to say more, but Rowan's gaze stopped him cold. Did you find out anything? He asked. Langford nodded.
Lydia, can you take Ophelia to the sitting room? She'll have to go alone, Lydia replied. I promised to sharpen her knife.
Ophelia pointed at Rowan with an innocent look.
I think he took it. Maybe he left it on the mantel.
Rowan didn't react. Ophelia left with Lydia, satisfied with her own performance. She was discovering that rambling was a useful art. With Rowan, it was also a form of defense. They went to the sitting room looking for a dagger. It needed sharpening. Ophelia found it, and handed it to Lydia without a word. Then turning around she saw the blanket spread over the sofa, but the child wasn't there.
She held her breath.
Only when a little foot peeked out from the other side of the furniture, did she allow herself to breathe. She bent down, moved the fabric aside a bit, and found him on the carpet, on the floor in front of the sofa. Huge blue eyes looked at her without any fear. Sybil smiled at her and, unaware of any worry, went back to biting the leg of the furniture with complete focus.
That can't be good, Ophelia murmured.
No response. Determined, she moved the sofa, sat on the floor, and after a clumsy hesitation lifted the child. Sybil responded by pulling her hair energetically and searching for something he wouldn't find there.
No, she whispered, amused and pained at the same time. That's your mother's job.
She held him carefully and sang softly without realizing it.
The child calmed down.
Ophelia did too. When she stood up, she found Langford and Rowan watching her from the doorway. Langford smiled openly. Rowan didn't. There was something quieter, more attentive in his expression.
He's beautiful, Ophelia said, blushing.
Langford took the child.
I'd say you have a natural talent.
Lydia appeared immediately, handing her the dagger, now sharpened and sheathed in leather.
This way you won't hurt yourself. You won't need that, Rowan interjected. I won't give it to you, Ophelia replied without hesitation. I promised myself I wouldn't be separated from him.
Rowan yielded. They then talked about things Ophelia wasn't supposed to hear. Or so they thought. She interrupted calmly and reconstructed the investigation with a clarity that silenced them. The dead man, his age, his appearance, his condition.
He hadn't been a worker. He'd eaten well.
No calluses. Ophelia had seen everything. When she finished, exhaustion finally showed.
We have to leave, she said. The longer we stay, the more danger this family is in.
Rowan suggested the countryside. Ophelia shook her head.
You won't leave my side. You promised.
Lydia supported her friend without explanation. Langford too. Rowan studied Ophelia for a long second. Then he nodded silently. And in that gesture, it was clear that from that moment on, it was no longer just a matter of protection.
Chapter 14.
Between purity and trembling. Ophelia, Rowan began, holding himself back. If I suggest taking you to my parents' house, it's for your safety.
No.
Do you really think you'll be safe with me?
The tone irritated him. Yes.
Rowan exhaled roughly.
I won't be able to keep my hands off you for 2 weeks. Damn it, I'm trying to be honorable.
Ophelia blushed.
Don't say that in front of them.
Ophelia. Rowan growled.
You shouldn't yell at her, Lydia warned. It's not her fault, Ophelia added. He has a fiery temper. I'm not fiery, Rowan said, softer now. I'm honest. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. It's late, she replied. You already did.
Langford watched amused. Rowan turned to him.
Don't you have somewhere else to go? No. Then leave anyway.
Langford raised an eyebrow but obeyed. As he left, Lydia squeezed Ophelia's hand.
Don't fight it, she whispered. Your fate is already sealed.
Ophelia closed the door and stood firm before Rowan.
It's ridiculous for you to worry about not being able to control yourself.
You won't touch me unless I allow it. I trust you, she added, placing her hand on her chest, with all my heart.
Don't do that. The harshness startled her, but she didn't back down. The deal is clear.
You protect me.
I set the boundaries. It will work.
A commotion at the entrance interrupted them. Rowan recognized the voice before seeing who it was.
It's Hollis, he said. Stay here.
Ophelia followed him anyway. The stable boy could barely speak.
Everything's lost, my lord.
It was a miracle the whole block didn't burn down. The Count of Hazlitt's city house was damaged.
My city house?
Rowan asked.
It burned, Langford confirmed. It wasn't negligence, Hollis hurried to add. There were no candles or fire lit. No one's accusing you, Rowan replied.
What else could go wrong, he thought.
It wasn't an accident, Ophelia said.
Everyone turned to her.
Her hands were clasped, her gaze lowered. It's all right, Rowan reassured her. It can be replaced. Anyone hurt, she asked.
No one was.
I'll handle the authorities, Langford said. You get her out of London. Now.
Rowan nodded.
Hollis, go get a drink.
The boy obeyed.
The three remained.
Ophelia, Rowan said gently, why are you so sure?
She took a deep breath.
Because it's not the first fire.
It's the third.
Always fire.
Always at night.
She raised her eyes, shining with tears.
They won't stop. They'll try until they catch us, together. Him too.
Langford murmured. Ophelia shook her head, looked at Rowan and burst into tears.
They don't want to kill just me anymore. They want to kill him too.
And at that moment, Rowan understood there was no turning back.
Chapter 15. The price of craving the truth.
Ophelia wiped her tears with the back of her hand.
They must have found out who you really are, she said quietly. I thought you were the night guardian when I entered the tavern, but they knew from the start.
Otherwise, why burn down your house? Rowan wrapped an arm around her and led her to the sitting room.
I don't think more told them, he replied. How they found out is secondary.
Now I need everything, Ophelia. No omissions.
I'll tell you everything.
Langford closed the doors and sat opposite them. Rowan made her sit next to him, protective without realizing it. Maybe we confused them by jumping into the Thames, Ophelia added, looking at Langford. If Hollis keeps pretending to search for us, they'll think they don't know where we are. Langford nodded and immediately went out to report. Alone, Ophelia lowered her voice.
I can't stay with you. If they try to catch me, they'll kill you.
She stood up, but Rowan held her back and pulled her close to his side.
I also tried not to feel anything, he murmured. I failed.
We're bound, whether you like it or not.
They looked at each other in silence. You lost your home, she whispered. We're in danger.
And yet, all I want is for you to kiss me.
Isn't that absurd? No, he answered, taking her chin. I want it too.
The kiss came without words, brief at first, then urgent, as if the world shrank to that gesture. Ophelia clung to him. Rowan lost track of time.
It's time to.
Langford's voice broke in from the door. Ophelia pulled away abruptly, blushing. Rowan barely hid his displeasure.
You lost control, she said firmly, though her voice trembled. Let's listen to Ophelia now, Langford interjected. Let's start with the first fire.
Ophelia took a deep breath.
I'm not weak, she said, looking at Rowan. But there are memories that still shake me.
Langford nodded.
Tell us about your family. My father was the Earl of Wakefield. He died when I was 8.
I remember the day he left for London. He was restless. He warned me that if anything happened, Silas and I should go to his friend Hale.
Did something happen?
Rowan asked.
A carriage accident, she answered. It wasn't a premonition. He had an enemy. She hurried to clarify, but that's not why they're after me now. I saw a man get murdered. They saw me.
She continued, the story unstoppable now, childhood on Hale's Island, the return to England, the week with Silas, the urgent letter, the farewell.
Then the fall down the stairs, the reckless walk, the muffled scream. I saw them throw him off the roof, she said. I ran away.
Hid among my parents' graves, and there I saw them again.
The same men?
Langford asked.
Yes. They were digging.
Silence fell like a weight.
The graves?
Langford murmured.
Yes. It's the truth.
Rowan didn't hesitate.
Continue. I screamed.
One shot. I ran. Warned Hawthorne.
The next morning they went looking for the body. And?
Ophelia shook her head slowly.
They found nothing.
Neither the corpse nor disturbed graves.
Her hands trembled.
Rowan took them in his. At that moment, he understood that what bound them was no longer just desire, not even danger. It was a mystery that wasn't going to let her go, nor would he let her go. Ophelia had grown up learning to move in the shadows.
Not because there was a lack of light, but because light had never been safe.
In her childhood, seeing too much meant exposing yourself. Knowing too much meant becoming vulnerable. That's how she learned to listen before speaking, to observe without being seen, to keep inside what others wasted in words. Her origin was a shadow she couldn't deny. She carried it in her blood, in the quickness of her hands, in that ease with which she disappeared when danger became real. For years she thought it was a flaw, a stain that needed fixing. Later she understood it was something else, a time of gestation.
Not all darkness is corrupt.
Some things wait. Ophelia didn't defend order out of blind obedience. She defended it, because she knew what happened when there was none. She had seen how the absence of rules didn't create freedom but abuse, how chaos always favored the strongest. That was why her loyalty wasn't naive. It was a conscious choice, made from the knowledge of what's lost when no one protects anything.
Between the law and the margin.
She returned to the grave that very night. It had rained heavily, the wind had swept the ground, yet there were still no footprints. No sign of shovels.
Maybe you surprised them just as they were starting, Rowan ventured. Yes, she agreed. But I will never forget their faces.
Rowan encouraged her to continue. Ophelia explained that she spent the day trying to understand the motives of those men. Then she asked Hawthorne not to alarm Silas. She lied, blaming what happened on the fading light of dusk. The butler seemed relieved, though he kept watching her after her fall down the stairs.
Could it have been?
Langford began.
No, Rowan cut him off without looking at her. Last night we were chased by at least 5 men. This isn't imagination.
Ophelia held Langford's gaze.
Now I believe you, he said. What happened next? I didn't give up, she replied. The next morning I went out to look for proof.
Langford smiled, understanding.
I would have done the same. It was yesterday, Ophelia clarified. I went out on horseback. I didn't go to the graves. He was shot.
Rowan straightened.
The horse. Silas's best colt, she confirmed. When he finds out, it will break his heart. She didn't cry. She just pressed her lips together.
He fell to the ground, bruised but alive. She returned to the house and told what had happened. This time she had proof.
"The horse," she said, impatient. "Dead."
Rowan nodded.
"And Hawthorne saw it."
Ophelia took her time, answering.
"When we returned, it was gone."
Langford didn't seem surprised.
"And you, Rowan? It fits with everything else."
Hawthorne insisted the animal would have come back on its own.
It didn't.
The servants found recent wagon tracks.
"They took it," Ophelia concluded. "They loaded the body and made it disappear." "An adult horse is too heavy," Rowan objected. "It would take several men."
"Difficult," Langford interjected, "not impossible."
"It had a shot between the eyes," she replied. "It didn't escape on its own."
Fatigue finally crept into her voice.
"Silas will suffer when he finds out about the house, and the carriage." "The house?"
Rowan growled.
"Ophelia, for God's sake." It burned to the ground. The silence was immediate.
"After the horse," she continued, "Hawthorne ordered the coach prepared. I decided to return to London. The servants looked at me, as if they didn't recognize me.
I thought Silas would know what to do."
She raised her voice without realizing it. Rowan took her hand.
"Calm down."
"Go on."
On the way, the coachman shouted. The house was on fire.
We returned, but it was too late. I ordered a message sent to London, and we left again.
She took a breath. At a bend, they were waiting for us. The coachman fled. "Coward," Langford murmured. "Scared," she corrected. "Fear makes strange things happen." They closed the carriage and set it on fire.
Ophelia managed to get out through a poorly fitted window.
"Silas paid dearly for that vehicle," she added, with a hint of irony. "It wasn't very solid." "You're getting off track," Rowan said softly.
Langford stood.
"Lydia will prepare a bag for you."
"Go with her." Ophelia obeyed, without protest.
The knot in her stomach had returned.
When they were alone, Langford spoke. "What do you think?"
"That last night they were hunting us," Rowan answered. "That's not what I'm asking."
Rowan shook his head slowly.
"I think she saw something." "And do you believe her?"
Silence was the answer.
Chapter 17.
Where the light doesn't reach. Rowan shook his head slowly.
"I have no proof," he admitted. "Not a single true word."
"And you?" Langford didn't nod either.
"It's the most illogical story I've ever heard," he said. "But if she's telling the truth, we'll have to help her." "And if she's not?"
Rowan asked, already knowing the answer.
"Then you'd better watch your back." "Langford, you don't really believe that." "I'll tell you the only thing I know," he interrupted. "First, you're not objective. And I don't blame you, I did the same with Lydia.
Second, the girl is in danger and she's put you in danger too. Those are the facts. Everything else is speculation." Rowan sank onto the sofa. He knew Langford was right.
"And what do you feel?" "Maybe it all starts with the father," Langford replied, shrugging. "I'll check the history of the Count of Wakefield."
"Redgrave can help me." Rowan thought about arguing but gave up.
"It won't hurt," he conceded. "Though I'm starting to suspect the brother."
Silas went to London for a friend, and that's where it all began.
"If we accept that Ophelia told the truth."
Langford sighed and lowered his voice.
"Just tell me one thing, Rowan.
Do you trust her?" Rowan held his friend's gaze for a long moment.
"If we apply logic to this situation."
Langford shook his head.
"Don't talk logic to me.
Answer me."
"Yes," Rowan said. And then he laughed, barely. "I trust her with my life."
"I couldn't tell you why."
"What do you make of that kind of reasoning?"
Langford smiled.
"I trust her too. And you have no idea why, do you?" "Where are you going with this?" "I trust her because you do," he replied. "Your instinct is rarely wrong."
"Thanks to it, you've saved my life more than once."
You still haven't told me what you think of all this. I believed Lydia almost from the start, Langford said. It was blind faith, I admit. She also forced me to run after her. And now it's my turn to support her. This time I think she's right. About what?
Rowan asked.
Langford tilted his head, amused. That you've just crossed paths with your destiny. He let out a soft laugh. God help you, Rowan.
Your hunt has just begun.
Chapter 18.
The Marquis's oath. The ladies waited for them in the vestibule. Among them on the floor lay a huge grey and white bag, ridiculously bulky. Rowan tried to lift it but gave up.
Not even the best horse could carry this. He opened it.
Inside were knives, pistols, chains. An arsenal.
Who packed such nonsense? I did, Lydia said, unfazed. I thought Ophelia might need to defend both of you.
Rowan looked at her as if he'd been insulted.
Defend me? Excuse me now, Langford whispered to him. It'll save you time.
Rowan grunted something unintelligible and began emptying the bag, tossing weapons on the floor while both women protested.
You won't need any of this, he said. Besides, you're too shy to use it.
Ophelia calmly gathered them back up.
Leave them, she murmured. And stop calling me shy.
I'm not yours nor your love. Rowan's jaw tightened. He closed the bag, leaving only what was usable.
Thanks, Lydia. Let's go, Ophelia. He took her hand with a grip that hurt.
Ophelia didn't complain. She was pleased she had managed to unsettle him. In the courtyard, the horses waited. Lydia hugged her as they passed.
Take care.
Ophelia glanced back one last time. She sensed with a painful certainty that she would never see them again. They rode out of London on back roads. Rowan veered, veered again. Ophelia recognized the landscape.
Silas's carriage should be nearby. They found it further ahead, wrecked by a ravine. Well, she asked. Now I believe you, Rowan said. Nothing more. Is that all?
I could say I'll kill the men who did this, he replied with terrifying calm.
And maybe burn them afterward. But I know that would upset you.
He stopped beside her and held the nape of her neck.
I protect what's mine. I belong to no one, Ophelia said firmly. He kissed her. It was a hard, possessive kiss.
When he pulled away, his eyes were burning.
It's time you understood that. She shook her head. It's time you did.
Rowan didn't argue.
He sat her in front of him on the saddle. You're tired. I am. She clung to his waist.
The forest closed around them.
Why this path? They're following us.
Ophelia tried to turn, but he didn't let her.
6 or 7.
From the edge of my property. They moved toward an unexpected clearing, as beautiful as a painting. A stream, an abandoned cabin, light filtering through the trees.
Someday, Ophelia murmured, I'd like to come back here.
Rowan didn't answer. When they reached open land, he spurred the horse. Ophelia held on tight as they galloped. Whoever had plotted the betrayal waited for them on their land. And all she could do was pray Rowan's men were ready for the battle to come.